They said the apartment was empty. No tenants, no power, no reason for anyone to be crying inside. But the building kept calling 911 from a line that was disconnected 10 years ago. What would you do if the voice on the other end knew your name? It was supposed to be a wellness check, nothing glamorous. Address 612, Mercer Avenue, Unit 3C. A cluster of calls hit the dispatch board. In under 5 minutes, open line, faint lullaby, and a quiet sob that made the hairs on our arms stand up. Caller ID flagged a number retired. Since 2015, I rode in with Officer Mara Quinn, new mom back from leave, and Sergeant David Rios, a straight-through-the-door type who jokes when he's nervous. I'm Evan Hale, 12 years on the job, and I've seen grief wear 1,000 faces. Mercer wasn't a bad block, just tired. Old bricks stacked like it was holding its breath. Windows taped and retaped. A stairwell that smelled like dust and rain. The super swore 3C had been sealed for years. He said if we heard anything, it was just the pipes. But pipes don't hum lullabies. As we climbed, Quinn kept glancing at her phone. Her sitter had texted a baby photo. Tiny hands. Milk-drunk smile. Relax, Rio said. We go up, we knock, we leave. Easy. I didn't answer. Somewhere above us, a woman was crying soft as a secret. We found 3C behind a strip of rusted police tape and a city notice, uninhabitable, no entry. The tape snapped like thread. The door had 3 locks. None were set. Inside, our flashlights dragged across empty walls. No furniture, no photos, just a coffee ring on the floor, silhouetting where a table might have been. Then we heard it. Not a sob, a hush, the kind you make when you're trying not to wake a baby. Hello? Police, Quinn called. Voice steady, hand not. If anyone's inside, call back to me. Something answered from the bedroom. Shh. But when we swept the room, it was bare. That wasn't the last time it told us to be quiet. On the windowsill sat a broken baby monitor, its light pulsing even without power. Quinn's face changed. New parent panic and recognition. Every parent knows that light. We followed the blinking down the hall, past a closet door, bowed in the middle, as if the wood remembered a fist. Rios tugged it open. Only coats, except they weren't coats. They were hospital gowns, dozens, stiff with dust, each tagged with a patient number that had bled into the fabric. From somewhere in the vents, a woman began to sing, off-key, almost humming, almost sobbing. Who's there? I called. Evan, the voice whispered. I've never heard my name sound like a threat. None of us had said my name out loud. We turned into the living room, and the stroller was just there. A metal-framed relic, mid-century, the kind that should live in museums or nightmares. Quinn froze. Her breath shortened. The kind new mothers use when they're fighting a cry. Inside the stroller lay a folded city citation. Mercer Apartments, rehab project, delayed. Under the paper, a tiny knitted booty, damp like it had been outside in the rain. Quinn touched it with 2 fingers. It's warm, she whispered. Rios shook his head. No power, no heat. That's not possible. The baby monitor coughed static and spoke in a different voice. My voice. Don't. I hadn't said a word. On a shelf warped by time, we found an old answering machine, the kind with a tiny cassette. It clicked on by itself. Playback. Message 1. A man crying. I'm sorry. We'll be quiet. Please don't take her yet. Message 2. The same man. Hoarse now. She's sleeping. Please, we'll be quiet. Message 3. Silence. Far too long. Then a slow, watery inhale like lungs learning air for the first time. The machine spat the tape and stilled. Rios looked like he wanted to smash it. Instead, he said, Time to clear out. The lullaby drifted closer. It wasn't in the vents anymore. It was in the room. The ceiling bulb flickered dead. Our flashlights dimmed like something was sipping the batteries. Quinn stepped toward the bedroom again, eyes shining. "I hear her," she said. "She's not even crying. She's trying not to." The bedroom had been empty 5 minutes ago. Now the crib was there. Slats clean as bone. Mattress dented like something had just lifted out of it. I reached the crib first and felt the dent with my palm. It was warm, in the exact shape of a head, behind us. Shh! Closer than breath. Quinn turned toward the sound and said, "Mom?" She stepped into the doorway like she knew this place. She raised her phone's screen, and its light found a family photo tacked askew to the wall. The glass cracked into a spider, the faces obscured by glare. Under the crack, a note: "If we're quiet, they don't move." "I used to live on this floor," she said suddenly, distantly. "Not here. 3A. When I was little, my mom worked nights. I had a music box. I'd wait in the hall so I wouldn't wake her." She stopped speaking because the photo's glare slid off, and we saw the faces: the man from the tape, the woman with tired eyes, and a child who could have been Quinn at 6 years old. But the apartment record said 3C was empty. Had been for years. Rios whispered, "That's not possible." The baby monitor hissed and, in Quinn's mother's voice, said, "If we're quiet, they don't move." The closet door, the one bowed, like it remembered, creaked. Something tall shifted behind the gowns, casting a threading shadow across the wall, slats like long, jointed fingers searching the room. Rios drew his sidearm. "Don't," I said. Too late. The shadow turned toward the sound like a moth to thunder. Every parent knows the panic of a baby almost waking the frozen breath. The desperate pleas, "Not now." The room learned it. The floorboards swelled. The walls widened. And in the jelly stretch of that impossible silence, Quinn spoke into the dark, the way a mother speaks over a crib. "It's okay, I'm here." The shadow recoiled, not from light or badges or metal, but from the quiet, from the sound of someone promising to stay. The stroller rolled an inch, gentle as a nod, and then the apartment made its choice. It closed the door behind us. We stood in that dim room a long time. Phones dead, radios dead. Quinn held the knitted booty in her fist, like a relic, and told the room a story. A girl on this floor, a mother who worked nights. A music box that played until the spring was naked metal. The girl learned to be quiet, so the monsters under the sink and behind the coats couldn't hear her. She grew up and left, and had a baby of her own, and the building waited for her to remember. When the power came back, it did so in a single pulsing breath. Our radio screamed to life. Rio swore hard enough to crack his teeth. The crib was gone. The photo was gone. The stroller was dust. The booty in Quinn's hand was a city notice again, ink still damp. We left 6112 Mercer with nothing to report, but the calls haven't stopped. Every few weeks, dispatch gets an open line from a dead number. Sometimes there's just air, sometimes a hush, sometimes if you listen like a child does, you swear you hear a lullaby. And me? I hear a rule I can't unlearn. If we're quiet, they don't move. Tell me, if your childhood house called you by name, would you pick up? They told me the asylum was empty, but then who was crying inside? It was one of those bitter nights where the cold doesn't just sting your skin, it crawls into your lungs and makes you feel like you're suffocating. Officer Daniel Reyes had drawn the short straw, a call to check on a reported trespasser at the abandoned Crestwood Asylum, a place that the town had long tried to forget. Its windows were boarded, its gates chained for decades, but stories still lingered about experiments, about screams that never stopped, about patients who never left. Reyes never believed them. He couldn't afford to. As his cruiser crunched over the frozen gravel, he felt something watching. The asylum loomed against the night sky, its jagged silhouette almost alive. He muttered into the radio that he had arrived, but the static that hissed back sounded less like interference and more like whispering. He tightened his jacket and stepped through the broken gates. The padlock was snapped clean, almost as if something wanted to be let out instead of kept in. Inside, silence swallowed him whole. The crunch of glass beneath his boots echoed like gunshots in the cavernous halls. He called out, "This is Officer Reyes. Step out where I can see you." His voice trembled in spite of himself. At first, nothing answered. Then, soft, hurried footsteps, followed by a door slamming deep in the dark. Reyes chased, flashlight beams slicing across peeling paint and rotting tiles. The corridors twisted like a labyrinth, pulling him deeper as if the building wanted him lost. He turned a corner and caught at movement. A figure, a girl in a hospital gown, barefoot, running just ahead. He shouted, "Stop! I can help you." But she never looked back. She slipped into a room at the end of the hall. He burst inside, heart hammering. Empty. Dust lay thick across untouched furniture. Papers scattered like frozen screams. But the air was colder here, as if the walls themselves were breathing. Then came the sound, the soft click of a latch. His flashlight quivered toward a heavy wooden door bolted shut from the outside. It hadn't been touched in years, and yet he heard it. Breathing, fragile, desperate. A child's whisper, "Help me." Reyes swallowed hard, forcing himself forward. His hands trembled on the bolt. But before he could move it, footsteps behind him. He spun around, light darting across shadows. Nothing, but in that nothingness, something moved. A blur, a presence. And then the bolt slid back on its own. The door creaked open into darkness, so thick it devoured the flashlight beam. He stepped inside against every screaming instinct. The silence here was heavy, pressing on his chest, making his heartbeat sound like thunder. In the far corner, his light revealed a crate, small, wooden, wrapped in rotting cloth. His breath caught etched into the wood was a single name, Daniel, his own. He froze. Then the crying began again. But this time it wasn't a child. It was dozens of voices, layered and broken, echoing all around him. They weren't just crying. They were begging, pleading. And then one voice rose above the rest. A woman's ragged, sharp. "Why did you leave us, Daniel?" His flashlight flickered violently. For a split second, he saw them, face twisted, pale, pressed into the walls, eyes hollow, mouths wide with screams that had never ended. He stumbled back, pulling at the door, but it slammed shut. Locked, the crying turned into laughter, high-pitched, mocking, filling his skull, until it felt like his mind would split. And then silence. The door creaked open, slow, deliberate. The hall beyond was empty. He staggered out, gasping, heart beating, like it was tearing out of his chest. When he turned back, the room was gone. No door, no crate, just an unbroken wall. He radioed for backup, but all he got was static. Static that whispered his name. Officer Reyes made it out of Crestwood that night, but he was never the same. He told no one what he saw. But sometimes, during night patrols, he swears he still hears that voice in the static. "Why did you leave us, Daniel?" And here's the thing, the asylum still stands. Locals say if you drive by with your windows down, you'll hear crying from inside. Some even claim they've seen a shadow of a man standing in the window with a flashlight, as if he's still trapped in there, chasing someone who doesn't exist. So let me ask you, What would you do if you heard your own name being whispered inside a place no living soul should be? Have you ever felt like a building itself wanted to keep you? Tell me in the comments, and if this story gave you chills, wait until you hear about the abandoned house that still answers 911 calls.